This was not the video that I intended to make today by any means, but it's a video that feels right. So it's the day after Christmas, December 26th, 2025. And I'm just going to yap at you for a few minutes if you'll sit here with me and yap. I have been a YouTuber for 10 years. 10 years. I've taken breaks, I've come back, I've left, I've done many, many journeys with you all. And one of the things on those 10 years is I've watched other creators grow as well. One of the creators I watched from very, very early on, before I was even a YouTuber myself, he has no idea who I am. Why would he? But there was a man, some of you might follow him. His name is Adam the Woo. I loved his content. I loved his traveling content. I loved his Disney content. I loved him and Justin together. I Obviously they didn't know who I am. Why would they? But I loved watching them. Adam passed away Monday, I believe is when it was announced. I found out Tuesday. And for the last couple of days, it's just something I've been sitting with. It's something I've been sitting with because that man lived his life exactly who he was, and he did it on camera every single day. He made a vlog about his life every day. Some of those days were exciting. Some of them were not exciting. Some of them were just him walking around talking, right? And I thought about doing a talk and walk, but it was really raining outside. I didn't want to. And I thought, well, Adam would just want me to make a video anyway. And I am so inspired by him in life and in death. And I watched the video that Justin made. This is very niche, I know. I watched this video that Justin, who I would think is his best friend, at least on camera, made after his passing. And he said what Adam would want everyone to do is to like get up and do it. Stop talking about it, get up and do it. Stop wondering what can be done and start taking action towards it. And I feel like that is a year of 2026 for me, and it's something I had already been contemplating and already been thinking a lot about, how I can have all these big ideas, but it doesn't matter unless you put them out into the world and you put them into action. And one thing that Adam really taught me over the years is just to be authentically you. People aren't going to like it. They're not. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall from public grace and you're going to get back up. But one thing Adam never did was let anyone else dictate how he lived his life. He was exactly who he was. And he was unapologetic about that. And he just shared his everyday life with the world. And that is such a gift. I don't know how, I mean, he had probably 12, 13, 14 years of daily vlogs, every day putting out content for the world. That's a wild ride, you guys. Just being here for 10 years has been the wildest ride. You guys have seen all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And dang, like that man left a legacy. And I have a lot of peace in my heart knowing that he passed living his life to the fullest, doing exactly what he wanted to do for himself. And there is something so amazing about that in the year 2025, because there's a lot of pressure to do what other people expect of you or to listen to the masses and to do all the things that you think you should do. But he just did what he wanted to do. He traveled, he documented it, he tried to do better every day. He was kind, he put a lot of kindness out into the world. I've always been obsessed with Disney. I have a damn monorail around my tree right now. I've had it there for 10 years. And I found all the early Disney vloggers, Fresh Baked, Justin. I just always call him Justin. Adam the Woo, all of these very early vloggers, and they had a huge impact on how I made content. Like, no joke. I wanted to be a daily vlogger. I wanted to do what they were doing. And I didn't live by Disney. I didn't have an exciting thing to talk about, but I could talk about my daily life, and that's what I did for many years on YouTube. Is I would just showed up authentically me, and I just documented that, and I tried to drop knowledge, like share the knowledge that I had in my head with you guys. And sometimes I think that I forget that. Like, I forget at the core who I am and what I started out as. I just wanted community. I was just lonely. That is why I started YouTube. If you guys don't know the story, let me tell you. I had left my full-time job to stay home and sell on eBay so that I could support my son with special needs in school. This was 10 years ago. And when I did that, I lost all adult conversation on a daily basis. My husband was working nights. I had a toddler at home. I had my son in school. It was really hard and really hectic, and I felt very lonely. I didn't have family to support me. And so I would watch this group of YouTubers, and they had a weekly, I think it was weekly, it was a weekly live show where they would all get together, and there were like four of them. Deb hosted it. I don't even remember their like fake Tanya was on it. I don't even remember their actual YouTube handles anymore. Pinching Pesos, that was Deb. And I loved watching this show. And it made me feel very connected because it was only women, right? And there was a lot of male YouTubers, but there wasn't a lot of women YouTubers. So I would watch a show. And one day Deb said, hey, if anyone out there wants to be a co-host or come on as a guest, like hit me up. So I hit her up and I was like, I want to do that. And she wrote back and she said, hey, like, no offense, like, we're just looking for like established people in the community. And that made sense to me. And most people would be offended by that. Most people would walk away from that feeling rejected and feeling like, oh, well, screw them, that whatever, they would be mad at Deb for the rejection. However, I literally took it as, oh, okay, so I just have to establish myself and then I can be on your show. Duh. Of course. Of course you want someone who can bring value to this table. And so I said, I'll start my own channel. I'll start my own channel. If I start my own channel, then they'll have me on the show. And I'll start my own channel and I'll tell everyone all about how I do eBay. And it's going to be fantastic. And I did. And guess what? I became a permanent co-host of that show. And when people talk about manifestation and they talk about all of these things, that's what they're talking about. They're not just talking about, oh, I want this, so I'm going to think about it and it's going to happen. No, 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 no. You manifest by putting actions into the world as if you already have the thing you want. So when I wanted to be a guest or a co-host on this show, I reached out. First off, I found out why I couldn't be right away. And then I put in the work and I acted as if I was already on the show, right? Like, I started feeling myself. I put myself out there. I had no qualms about it. I fully manifested becoming a co-host. It is not just about wanting something. It's about the daily actions that you take to get to that something. And when I think about Adam the Woo, and he had 750,000 subscribers at the time of his passing. And I think about how he manifested that. He knew from a very early age he was going to do YouTube and he was going to be committed and he was going to fulfill his prophecy. And anyone can do that. It is not too late in life. He was 10 years older. Well, he was about 12 years older than I am. So he started around the same age that I am right now. He was 51 and I am 39. No, I'm 38. I'll be 39 in April. I told you it was a yap session. And so I just felt incredibly inspired. Like, he did that. He did that. And he would want everyone in his life to do that, according to Justin. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it and I'm going to push myself to be the best version of myself authentically. And I think that's half the problem. Half the problem in my life is that I don't show up for myself. I show up for everybody else. And I mean that in a way where I oftentimes don't know who I am. I had a therapist this year, had a lot of therapy this year. If you don't know, I was clinically diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. That was very hard. I was in a hospital. I was banned from Whatnot. All of these things that were hard that happened and that I have to forgive myself for and just move forward because that's life. That's life. You make dumb decisions, you have to pay the consequences. That's life. But then you also have to realize that you can't hold on to it forever. And so for me, just sitting here thinking about how I show up for everybody else, but I rarely show up for myself. And that being said, like, I oftentimes make decisions so that I feel like I'm doing what other people want from me because I don't know who I am. So anyway, back to the point of the story, the ADHD is taking over. My therapist asked me, she said, Nicole, all I hear out of you is X wants this, X wants this, you know, you do this and you do. What does Nicole want? Like, when does Nicole get what Nicole wants out of that life? And I want everyone who is still watching this Yap session to actually think about that. If you had to ask yourself, when does Mary get what Mary wants? Are you actually living your life for yourself or are you living it for everybody around you? Because while I have made very selfish choices in my life, I've also made those choices to get attention and validation from other people. And I broke my own rule and I looked at comments yesterday because I was really, the Adam the Blue death really hit me in an interesting way. I didn't know him. I'm not mourning the loss of someone I knew, but it was like a slap in the face, like a wake the fuck up. Look at this man was only 12 years older than you, but he lived a full life. And if you don't wake the fuck up, you're not going to live a full life. And you are going to pass away one day. You are going to die, and you are going to die on a bed of fucking regrets because you let everyone else tell you how to live your life. And I have to throw that out immediately. Like today, I'm throwing that out. That's why I said I want to make this video. I'm going to make this video. I'm going to do what feels right and natural because that's what I did in the beginning and where I had the most success, but not just success. When I talk about success, I also mean when I personally felt like I was living for myself, because that's true success, in my opinion. True success is having a full life where you feel at the end of the day, you can lay your head down and you feel fulfilled. That is success. It's not money in the bank. It's not the number of people watching your YouTube channel. Success is feeling like you put more good into the world than you took. At least for me. Everyone is going to have a different version, but for me, that is success. And so when does Nicole get what Nicole wants? Now. And I'm going to show up for myself. When I make a commitment to myself, like I'm putting out these videos every day, like I'm working 10 hours a day, I am fully committing and I'm showing up for me. I'm not showing up for anybody else. But I was okay. I was reading the comments on the first video I put up a couple days ago. And there was one single thing in common. They didn't give a fuck about Amazon. They cared that I was making a comeback for myself. And that is what I saw over and over and over again, right? They didn't want to know the tips and the tricks and all of that. They wanted to see Nicole State, the person that they had watched for 10 years, find her way back to herself. They wanted to learn from me again. But I don't need to be like every other YouTuber and sit here and be like, here's the data, here's the facts, here's what you do, right? I need to do it in my way. And just because I think sometimes, oh, my way is kind of lame, like I don't have a big film crew and I don't have all these things and I'm not good enough, that is truly just not facts, because people want to learn from someone like them. And 2025 has kicked my fucking ass, right? It's kicked my ass. Consequences of my own choices, I know, fully aware, but it still kicked my ass. I went from living in a gorgeous 3,500 square foot house, driving a Land Rover, to essentially being homeless, living in a friend's guest house for a few months, my car getting repossessed, losing every single thing I had, losing the community that I had. I lost it all. And you know what? That's okay, because it really was a gift that showed me how strong I am and what I am capable of managing and getting through. It also taught me a ton of lessons. I've never learned so many lessons, right? And I had a friend, maybe I said this already in a video, but I had a really good friend when I was on the phone with her. And I said, thank you so much for sticking by my side through all of this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for forgiving me for my actions. And she said, what? No. I never had to forgive you. It was never about that. I never had to forgive you. You had to pay the consequences for your actions. And if people can't see that you paid those consequences and they're still angry at you, for what? It was never about that, Nicole. God was showing you that you had to forgive yourself. And until you forgive yourself, you will never let it go. And I remember a few months ago asking a different friend who stood by me. I asked him, he said, you have to let it go. And I cried to him and I said, okay, how do you do that? Everyone says, let it go. How? How do you let it go? And he very, very gently said, I know it's hard. I know. But he couldn't tell me because it wasn't for him to tell me. But the trick is you have to forgive yourself. That's it. And if you don't forgive yourself and you continue to live on this hamster wheel, you can never fulfill your full life. You can never have the life that Adam the Woo lived. And I read something recently as well that said, forget who said this, but they were, maybe Grant Cardone. I don't remember. They were talking about how when you live from a place of shame, right? Or you live in this like shame and you feel like, oh, I have to be shameful for my past actions, right? Because that makes me a good person. If I don't live in shame, then I'm not a good person. But in reality, when you live and you carry shame, you're bad. It's not good. You're not being a good person when you live in shame, because when you live in shame, you can never fully rise to your true potential. And if you don't rise to your true potential, you can't help other people in this world live to their true potential. And that makes you a bad person if you are not living to your true potential. You don't get to do this again. This is it. 51 years. Adam passed away in his sleep. And you know what? He passed away living his life to the fullest, doing exactly what he wanted to do and documenting it for all of us to see. And if that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. And if only 5 people watch this video, it doesn't matter, because when you start living for yourself and you stop worrying about what everyone else wants of you, what everyone else wants you to do, what society thinks you should be doing, that is the only time you can live your full life to the fullest potential. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. You have to have a why. And my why is to live to my full potential. Okay, this is a real story. Late 2024, early 2025, I had so many people tell me, you're not living to your full potential. I just want to see you rise to your full potential. I started making a joke of it with a friend. Every time someone said, you're not living to your full potential, or I just want to help you rise to your full potential, I would screenshot it and send it to this person. We would laugh like, oh, Nicole's not living to her full potential. Everyone can see it but me. But they were right. I wasn't living to my full potential. I was hiding behind shame, embarrassment. I was not living a true life. And that's out. That's out, you know? I can't be that person anymore. I need to have integrity. And I need to have trust in myself, but that trust comes from having integrity. And all these things start to line up, and all the work that I've done and everything that I've realized led me to this point. But hearing about Adam the Woo's passing was a true explosion in my face. This all ends. This is all going to end. One day we won't be here. And every day that I spend on the couch in sorrow and wallowing and being a martyr is a day that I wasted. If you have, I think about like things in numbers a lot of time, right? He was 51. If I had $51, that's not a lot, right? Single dollar bills, and I laid them out and I'm looking at 51, and I take a one whole one away, then I only have 50 left. And that's what I've done this last year. I basically crumpled it up and threw it away. And how many years are we going to do that? Right? How many years? 120, let's say you have 50 years. 120, I'm doing this wrong. 50 years is 12. What am I trying to say? It doesn't matter. My point is every day that you waste, you don't get back. And you don't get what you want without putting the work towards it. And that was the analogy with how I started YouTube, right? I wanted something, so I said, okay, I got to do that. And I showed up and I did it. And I did it without fear. I did it without shame. And I did it with integrity. And I think that if you can master those three things and be consistent with all three of those things, you can have whatever you want in life. If you can take away your fear, if you can live with integrity, right? And you start showing up for yourself, everything changes. And you do it consistently. And so for me, these 60 days are so important because they are the first commitment that I'm keeping to myself and the first promise that I'm keeping to myself in a very long time. And if you guys don't know, for 60 days, I'm working 10 hours a day on my Amazon business, and I have blocked out the rest of the world, literally like blocked everyone in my phone, no notifications, nothing except being 100% focused on this and putting out a YouTube video every day. Didn't put one out on Christmas, it was Christmas. But outside of that, like every day I'm putting out a YouTube video documenting the journey. And that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And in honor of Adam the Woo, who inspired me so much on my YouTube journey, I am going to show up for myself consistently because that's what he did. And that's what he would want everyone else in this world to keep doing. And I really think that's what he would want his followers and the people who watched him regularly. Show up for yourself. Live your life. You don't get to do it again. And with that, I say goodnight.